Hi, and welcome to Just Trying Dad. Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Just Trying Dad. Chiedodogu here, and I have with me a guest that I've wanted to have for a very long time. He is Gabriel Martino. Gabriel and I went to Howard together. We are part of the same fraternity, and we just had a lot of conversations around fatherhood, around work, around business, and it's just beautiful to be in this stage of life at the same time as Gabriel. So without doing any of his introduction any injustice, I will hand it over to Gabriel to introduce himself.
Thanks a lot, Shadu. Thanks for having me. I think programs like this, what you're pioneering, is helpful. Just being able to listen to hear people speak about experiences that we all go through and being able to learn from different experiences helps us. I am Gabriel Martino. Shadu and I, as he mentioned, we went to Howard together. I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a husband. Just happy to be here. We have one son and we have a daughter on the way in a few months. So we're excited. Our family is about to expand. My
Nice.
son is about to be 3 in January. So he's about 2 and 3/4. And we're excited to
Yeah,
have excited to have another member of our family on the way. Yeah,
that's
to give
pretty
him some.
cool. You've been through the stages.
Yeah.
You're now in terrible twos, and now there's expecting one on the way, and it's
Yeah, it's exciting. But you
Mhm.
still think about, oh man, you go into it having a little bit of experience from your first, right? Yeah, the
Mhm.
first you didn't know much, but each kid is different, so you never
Right.
know what the situation is going to be. So you still have a little bit of anxiety, as I would say, just waiting, making sure mom is doing well, she's healthy,
Mhm.
and making sure we have everything in place, which we don't. We still got to get the room figured out, rearrange stuff, pull out old baby stuff, and because it's a
Right.
girl, we also got to get
New
new stuff
things.
as well. So it's interesting. It's a nice experience, and given the COVID pandemic, it changes the whole dynamic on how you do things. So all of that.
Yeah. So I know this is not what we wanted to talk about, but this is interesting. I kind of knew this offline, but then it's good to hear this from you, like in terms of like how's the pregnancy journey the second time around? Is it the same, easy? There's different things you notice, or is it just kind of like plug and play at this point in time?
To be honest, I think it's easy, but as I said, I'm not going through that,
You're not the one carrying the
so,
baby. Yeah.
you know, yeah. I guess the reason why I would say it's a little bit easier for me personally, this time around, because I think the first time I didn't really know much, right? And
Mhm.
I was doing a lot more research. So I'm just tapping into some of that research that I've done in the past,
Mhm.
and we haven't had any surprises thus far. Thank God, so far. Thus far, it's been a smooth journey, and we
Mhm.
just praying that it continue to be that smooth journey. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you could only hope. For me, both
Mm.
times around, I want to say they were almost identical, but like you said, I wasn't the one carrying the baby. Just from my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like they were both equally drama filled in the sense that for me, the same amount of anxiety was
Yeah.
just like a same play, but because my daughter was a month early, my son was a month early, so
Okay.
like,
Hmm.
and so
Yes.
we were just like dealing with it and just trying to figure out exactly how to make the balance. But it just seemed like all that stuff was like no matter how much research you do, no matter how much preparation you do, you're still going to go through what you're going to go through, which is you don't know what to expect until the delivery is done. So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's it.
All right. Let's do the icebreaker question, and I like to on the pod kind of go through asking dads what type, even prospective dads too, like what type of dad they think they're going to be, so or they strive to be. So there is this article that we typically use from All Pro Dads, going over like POW dad, MIA dad, AWOL dad, reserve duty dad, active duty dad. In your own words, what type of dad do you strive to be in your journey so far?
I think when I look at some of these options here, I mean, I feel I have no choice, but to be an active duty dad, just being
Hmm.
so involved in my child's life, and in this case, as our family expand, being involved in our children's life. I just can't comprehend being some of the others that I mentioned here. And obviously, I know active duty, there's also different hybrids to that where people expand on it. But just the whole definition, just being able to be there for my kids when they need, providing support emotionally, physically, um, financially, whatever is needed at that point. That's how I was raised. And it's just I can't picture being anything else. I do understand having children is not for everyone, but I think I signed up for this and this is my responsibility. So being an active duty dad is the only option, really. Yeah.
I like that take on I signed up for this, so there's no other option than to kind of go in wholeheartedly. I've just been reminded, and I'd like to, my wife likes to remind me that in the 3 episodes that I've done so far, I've never really answered this question. I think I answered this question only in a different podcast when I was launching this podcast that
Hmm.
I went on. But so it's I guess this is my turn, my time to kind of
Yeah.
say what type of dad I am. So for me, I think it's definitely active duty, and like you said, there's different flavors to active duty. But I specifically like to think of myself as a helicopter dad.
Hmm.
And what that means is that I am not only super involved, I am plugged in. I'm usually probably like usually 6 feet behind every single time, giving them a bit of independence. But once I
Okay.
anticipate and target and see that something is going awry, I'm in there. Case in point, we just came back from a birthday party in the woods in a wildlife
Okay.
center with snakes, turtles, and possums.
Fun.
And I'm deathly afraid of snakes. But that's a whole nother story. But at a point in time, my daughter and her 6, 7 year old mates were like in the woods, swinging through vines. And then I'm walking, and
Hmm.
something tells me to just like stay close. And I stay close. I'm walking closely, and then all of a sudden, like a branch falls down and literally hits her shoulder. And she's like
Hmm.
trying to shake it off. And I'm like, no, I saw that. You need to come over here. We need to troubleshoot this. We need to figure this thing out. We need to sort everything, make sure you're okay before you go
Yeah.
back and play. Make sure your shoulder's not sprained, anything. So we did a whole body check, breathe in, breathe out, and then we go back to
Hmm.
play. Otherwise, if you go back to play and then something's off, I'm gonna hear for the rest of the of the time. But it's part of
Yeah.
just like my whole like ethos is just trying to almost like just see around corners, anticipate what's going on, know their weaknesses and their strengths, and let them run with their strengths, and then try and bolster them where they're not strong for. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I see that, and sometimes like with Ethan, I mean, he could be super active. He'd be bouncing off the wall, looking for, I mean, they look for danger, as much as you try to tell them, hey,
They
you
do
could
look
get
for
yourself,
danger.
you could get yourself hurt. So I think I do a little bit of what you do, but to an extent, like sometimes I want him to experience a little bit of pain, as you may call it. Not extreme pain, obviously. I mean, if you fall a little bit, try to figure out, hey, how do you get back up? Where it hurts, let's stretch it out, as you said, troubleshooting. I'm not, I'm not the type of dad to rush in to pick him up once he falls. Once I look, I see it's not a major fall. Try to encourage him to get back up on himself. If it hurts, we come over, we check it out, and then we go back to doing what you got to do. But I'm always there anticipating what danger may happen. The challenging thing is sometimes you may not be around. Like for instance, in school, like this week we had a small scare. I'm on my way to a golf tournament. I pull up in the parking lot, pulling my bag out the car, and then my phone ring. I see the school is calling. I'm like, oh man, what's happened?
It's never
Because
a
the
good
school
thing.
is calling. Yeah, what the school is calling is never a good thing. It's like, oh, Mr. Martino calling to tell you that Ethan was playing with a friend and he fell and hit his head. I'm like, oh my goodness, what do you mean hit his head? What's going on? So I'm immediately thinking, concussion type, scenario, what's the protocol? And it's 30 minutes away, so I got to get back in my car and I'm racing. I mean, I literally was racing because in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, if the cops pull me over, I'm telling them,
You have a
hey,
good
it's an
excuse.
emergency. I'm trying to get,
Yeah.
you know. Thankfully, all was well. We took him to the doctor, checked him out. The doctor was like, he's fine. picked him up. He was bouncing off the wall. He was able to tell us exactly what happened.
What happened?
It's those things that you get worried and paranoid about because you put them out into the world, and it's just trying to teach them to protect themselves. If you're going to fall, how do you fall to protect yourself?
Yeah, I'll just push back on the cop situation because I've actually got stopped by the cops on my way to something like that. They still
Oh,
gave me a
really?
ticket. they're like, oh, where are you go? Why are you going so fast? And they're like, I was this, and they're like, nope, nope. Here, your child will be fine, but here's your ticket, sir. And then it's one of those situations where I didn't even have my license on me, so it's kind of like, okay, so here's your ticket, and here's $50 extra for not having your license on you. And I was like,
Oh
okay,
man.
thanks, guy, thanks.
So that helicopter dad, Tim, did you come up with that, Tim?
No, it's actually out there. It's usually helicopter moms, but give me a second. The weirdest thing just happened right now.
What's that?
So my kids are upstairs and they're taking a nap like your kid is,
Mm-hmm.
and they got these walkie talkies from school for a fundraiser they were doing, and I
Mm-hmm.
forgot to put one of them off, and one is here in the studio with me, and somebody else is on the same frequency in the
Really?
neighborhood, like 3 miles away, and they are they are chatting to their
Oh,
mom on. So I was like, who's kids are asleep? Like nobody's, and one of the receivers is off.
I was here. I was
So
here and talking in the background. I thought it was your
right,
wife or somebody. Yeah.
no, I thought it was them too, but I was like, this is not their voices. This isn't them. So that was a nice little
Oh
even when
man.
you put forward control environments, everything you kind of find a way
Oh
to
man, that's
bump
funny.
into this. That was funny,
Yeah.
but yes, no
That's
helicopter
technology
dad.
for you, man.
Yeah, no, scary. I need to change the frequencies now because who knows? Because usually when they're on and we're messing around with it, there's this song that their uncle is on the video. It's called Peru. It's like a Nigerian song. So it's like we go one one wami, and then they're like, I'm in San Francisco jamming. So
Oh,
that's how
nice.
they mess around. So who knows who's been hearing us do this on this frequency that is that is open
Yeah.
and getting a nice little kick off of it. But no, that's fun. Um, no, but bringing it back to helicopter dad. No, I didn't come up with it. I feel like it's a nicer way to say tiger. You know, when people are like, "Oh, tiger parents" and things like that. Parents are just too
Yeah.
aggressive. I'm not aggressive, clearly. I just like
Hmm.
to keep my worry at ease. But I'm always there. But it's
Okay.
like a step down from just being too aggressive, and you like you say, you let them experience the world, but you're still present in every way that you
Hmm.
can be. So yeah, no, thank you for taking that, and that was a nice discussion on parenting style. The main topic of what we're here for is burnout, and specifically
Hmm.
parental burnout. And just to do a bit of introduction of burnout in general, burnout is actually a term that more or less applies to the work and the occupational standpoint. So we've probably heard of burnout from your day-to-day job and your career, where it's like, you either kind of, feel this negativity towards the job, cynicism towards the job, lack of energy, feelings of ineffectiveness and things like that. But if you think about it, there is a direct correlation with how you feel towards a job to parenthood, which is, like you said, a life that you chose. Where sometimes you tend to feel tired, you tend to feel down, you tend to feel like you're not doing a good enough job. But the key thing is to understand that sometimes it's just a feeling. And
Hmm.
essentially, burnout is it's just elevated levels of stress and or a stress cycle that passes or that you can help pass by doing certain things. I guess the question is, do you experience that from time to time? Do you see that as a parent, or do you think they're just two separate tracks? Like this is work versus parenting; they just don't apply here.
I recognize that burnout do exist, but I think personally, I think I probably just ignore it. I mean, probably because I'm an entrepreneur, I have no choice. As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I mean, I've been eating what I kill for such a long time that I think burnout is there, but it's not. I don't make it an option. So I mean, and I've realized that I've been able to run at a faster pace compared to others because of that. Is it healthy? Probably not. Do I recognize people get burnout around me, close? People who are close to me. Yes, I do. When you think of burnout, you think of stress, and I just try to apply good stress, meaning, there's good stress, there's bad stress, and it's how do you allow which stress to propel you. I experience a lot of eustress, which is I'm more on the good stress side of things, which is beneficial. it's an experience that pulls the best out of you. So when I think of burnout, that's what I think of. I recognize that it's there and I recognize that it exists, if you hear where I'm coming from. But I sort of block it out at most times just because one being a parent and also being a business owner, it's
No days off.
I have no choice. Yeah, there's no days off pretty much.
Hmm.
There's no days off. Like to eat, we gotta go out there and we gotta kill. We gotta go out there and we gotta hunt. That's just how it is. There's no I can't turn it off, if you get where I'm coming
No,
from.
I get that, and for me, I don't know. So I'm not an entrepreneur, but I think for me, my job is in a bit of a similar realm where I experience a lot of, I would say, mixed stress, and that tends to be closer to the toxic bad stress, but
Mm-hmm.
it is in cycles and it's in waves, and I see it in those cycles and in waves how it affects the personal life. And the way it works for me is I'm very, very close to sales and close to the business side, and it's very quarterly based. So
Mm-hmm.
in a whole 12-month span, there are probably, yeah, I would probably say maybe 4 months of just craziness. And then the rest of the year is just kind of even kill and just nice and just. But in
Mm-hmm.
those 4 months that are spread across the year, it is you basically do 2 years worth of work in that time period. So
Yeah.
you're losing hair, you're losing sleep, you're graying,
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with everybody from across the world, you're dealing with every customer that you've never heard from. You're just dealing with all kinds of stakeholders, and you're just booking, 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 and it's like you have to be in a flow state. You have to be stuck to your computer. You have to be on coffee, energy drinks,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you need to get by. You just have to just sit here and just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so interesting that when that is the time, like my family knows, they know it's end of quarter. So they're like, everybody's like, leave him alone. He's very, very touchy right now. Leave him alone. He might blow up at you, or he might just kind of tell you to go to your room. So just it's end
Yeah.
of quarter. Leave him alone. And then once the end of quarter is done, I'm like, come back, like, hey guys, I know I've been going crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all done. I think I've been trying of recent to make it less of that and more of the whole world might be going crazy on the professional front, but at least I'm
Mm-hmm.
stable to you guys. At least I'm still dealing with it. So it's like I tried to find ways to find the balance and find a mindful balance. So it's like I try either kind of taking breaks, mindful meditation. When it was nice, when the summer was nice and warm, I would between going to the gym and going for a swim and things like that. But it's never always easy to do because, like you say, it's like those demands tend to get the better of you from time to time.
Yeah, and I think to add on your point, it's I could see where you could remember at the same time, whether it's business ownership or in your professional career, we do things to maintain a certain lifestyle for families, right? And that's where, you work so hard, whether it's at your professional job or growing your business or whatever it is, whatever the case may be, so that you could provide the best lifestyle that you could for your family. But at the same time, you also want to be present, So I understand that even though that burnout exists, that level of stress is there. I got to provide on this front. Some of the things I try to do is when I'm leaving the office, I try to leave that whatever stress is there at the office, I try to leave it at the office. Not meaning that I don't have to get stuff done, but if I sort of leave it in the office, get in the car, either pick up my son or go to extracurricular activity with him. I try not to bring that there, even it still needs to be addressed, if you get what I'm saying.
I think it's one of those things where, for me, it's very interesting because depending on how you look at it, both professional and parental burnout deal with. I don't want to say a job that you chose, but it's like it feels like work, right? So there's work on the
Mm-hmm.
professional side, and then there's work to be done that cannot be ignored as a parent, and so I feel like there's a middle ground where yes, you shut out the professional side, but then as soon as you've left that stuff at the office, quote unquote, however badly
Mm-hmm.
or nicely you've done it, you come back to work at home, which could equally be stressful. And so
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there is almost like there's a middle ground where you have to not neglect yourself. in terms of what you need on your
Mm-hmm.
rest, which is what most of us do, where it's like we jump from one stress to another stress, and then
Yes,
whilst thinking
yeah.
about the other stress, we're thinking about we're now doing a very bad job of blocking out the other stress we jumped out from. So I find it from time to time, like I've jumped from work stress. I have to get a problem solved. I have to push through. I have to finish a negotiation or whatever it is, and I jump to taking care of my kids and bath time and getting them dressed and all the things they don't like to do, eating their vegetables, making it on time to anywhere we're going to. It doesn't matter what it is. And whilst I'm doing that thing that is for them, I'm thinking about the problem I left at work that I have to solve. Right. So there's many times in the car that I'm like getting them from point A to point B, and I'm just like I'm drafting an email in my head, right? Or I'm solving a problem in my head, and it just doesn't work that way. You end up finding that you will not get as much as you need, as far as you need to get to, because you're not present and you're not doing what you need to do at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like there's a middle ground of where we, in your journey, right? You don't want to do anything outside of like just focusing on your kids or just focusing on work. You want to focus on yourself, because at the end of the day, the individual is the most important part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And not feeling like you're taking care of yourself leads to kind of exhaustion, leads to emotional distance from your children, leads to feeling like you're not effective as a parent, it leads to feeling like you're not effective at work too. So it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
there's always that nice little balance where we're all struggling to do, and it's just interesting. And I think we'll get to it, but it's interesting to see what the
Mm-hmm.
recommended outlets are for parents. I think you spoke about it earlier when you were talking about your son having an incident at school with golf. Is that a thing for you? Is that something that you like to do?
It's golf and playing football, as they call it, soccer here in the US.
Hmm.
So I'm part of a team and we play every Friday evening. So that's one way where I get that out, going on the golf course, you know. And you know, they say on golf is like a bad day of golf is still better than a good day at the office, right? So because
Yeah,
you're out there, you focus, you get a lot of stuff out. It's also on the soccer field too, you know. I'm very competitive. I'm big on teams. I like to win. So playing on a Friday night with my team, and we play year round. So we play in different leagues, whether it's spring league, now we're in the winter league, and we play in the summer league. And once I don't have something to do with the family on a Friday, or once I'm around on the weekends, I'm normally playing with my team on Friday nights, and it helps you expel stuff that, as you said, some of the stress, whether it's from the business or whether it's from at home, getting some of that stress out of your system. I think golf and football helps me with that
I know you've been playing
tremendously.
football all your life, but how about golf? When did you start?
I picked it up when I was in Canada, to be honest with you. I know when I was at Howard, you had to take
Your
a sport.
electives?
So I did golf as elective, but it was brief. You really didn't do much in it.
Did you
We
guys
had
go to Langston?
classes at Green Stadium. Yeah, we did.
Okay.
But then when I lived in Canada for a bit, one of my mentors out there, he was at BMO at the time. I would always go out with him. I'm glad he gave me the opportunity because he was good. I was just terrible. But just being out there on the field, learning that, hey, the more you go out, the better you get. Now I do it with a couple of buddies of mine, one of my attorneys who helped me close the transaction on my business. He's been a great friend of mine out in Baltimore. Another guy who doesn't live too far from me here in Virginia. You know, whoever I could, it's a good way to meet people too. Not only the person that you go out to play with, but just other guys that you end up seeing on the course as well. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Did you guys play 18 or do you play 9?
This last tournament was 18.
Mm.
I typically play 18. When I play in Baltimore, it's normally quick, you know, so we play 9 because
Mm.
we both have to run back to a meeting, you know.
Yeah.
So we try to get out there, get a 9 in, and run back out. That's before I had soccer. Before my son had soccer on Saturdays, we do like get there like around 6 on a Saturday morning and try to be
Mm.
back at home before,
Noon or something.
before 11,
Mm.
so get back home by like around 11 or so, get a nice, get an 18 in. But yeah, so it depends on the time I have, whether I play
Yeah.
at 18 or 9.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I play a bit of golf, but I don't have the patience for it. Like you, I mean, I took it up at Howard. Investment banking, you have to.
Yeah.
So I've played
Hmm.
on many courses,
Yeah.
but I think at this point in time, like I can do a 9 comfortably. Most of my Fridays when I have downtime, I go to the driving
Hmm.
range and I just hit away my frustration.
That's
So
nice.
I either take,
Yeah.
I want to say a 5 club set. So I take my pitching wedge, I take my 5 iron, which
Hmm.
is easy money,
Yeah.
and take my driver, and
Yeah.
then
Definitely
whatever
agree.
other club I want to practice at the moment, and then just try different things on the driving range. And I'm starting to take my kids with me now that they can actually swing.
That is good. Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
it's very interesting. But yeah, no. So your son Ethan is 3, or getting to
Well, not
3.
he's not three yet. He's getting to three, so he's like I'd say two and three quarter if they
Yeah,
do that math.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was gonna, I
So
was
he's
gonna,
gonna be three in January.
we're gonna be like what
Yeah.
40 something months. um, no, I'm not doing that with you guys. I'm just 2.5.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, two. I normally say two and a half.
two and
Two
a
and
half.
a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that is that I guess I'm giving you the compliment of being ahead of the curve, because when I was in that phase, when my kids were 2, actually, it's only now that I do more stuff for myself. Because when they were little, when they were 2, when they were 1, when they were like, I never did any. I just like, this is the
Hmm.
life I chose. I just kind of imbibed the stress and never really went out there. I did some coaching from time to time, but it wasn't like anything
Nice.
that was fun or anything. It
Hmm.
was just kind of like, look, I'm just dadding hard and nothing else. So it's only now that I realize, like, I'm like, my kids are older. They've kind of gone off me a little bit, where I could run for an hour and a half. I can run a marathon. They won't look for me until I come back, and they're like, "How was your run?" And then they like put the TV on for us, and then they like go away, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
but before it was like, as soon as I put my sneakers on or put my boots on to go to soccer, they're like, where are we going? I have many a
Yeah.
soccer game that I've played in intramurals where my daughter is on the sideline with a stroller.
Yeah.
I have to play and watch and make sure she's okay and she doesn't roll away.
Yeah.
But I never really thought to take those breaks or seek that help when they were younger. I just kind of stuck through it and just sat down there and just like took the pain
Yeah.
versus taking care of my mental state at that point in time. So I applaud you and commend you for taking it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I gotta give my wife a lot of credit for that too, because somebody gotta be there when I,
Mm-hmm.
So, when I get a chance to take a break, she's the one there with Ethan, and then I try to find times where she could also get a break. I think my philosophy is with kids is I think I grew up with this mentality is trying not to be idle. You know that saying how your
Mm-hmm.
parents used to say, the devil find work for idle
Yeah,
hands."
Devil's
Like if you're
Workshop.
idle,
Yeah.
you're gonna get into trouble. And when you sit back and think about it, if you try to schedule so much stuff for your kids so that they keep busy, it really kind of keeps them out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You're not burning them out, but it kind of keeps them out of trouble. Have them in the mindset where they're going from one activity and to another activity. Because the majority of kids that you realize that end up getting themselves in trouble is because they had a lot of free time. They were idle, and they found themselves into trouble. So I think with Ethan, that's what we try to embody. So after school, like I think he plays soccer 3 times a week. He does some swimming, and then even if he's home, I try to take him to the park so he could run around and just learn playground politics. Tell him go on the gym, negotiate your way on the slide.
Nice.
Meet people. And I'm on the sideline. Sometimes it looks like he's going to get himself in trouble, but I think a little bit of that for me too is allowing me to de-stress from what's going on. Because in a situation like that, you can't get working. So you always got to be watching your kids. It's not like you're on your phone sending an email. And especially a kid at this age, at 2.5. So just observing him growing in these different activities it brings me peace. And it's important for me to get back home in time. I could either drop him to school, pick him up from school, take him to these different activities. And after the activities, being able to sit down, have dinner, try to pick his brain to find out what he learned from, whether it's school or whether it's from these different activities that he's been in. I think those things are very important for me, being involved in that particular way of his life. So to go back to say, in terms of taking some of those times to also have my activities as well helps. He gets his time to have his activity, and then I could have my activity where I could play my soccer on a Friday evening, or get my golf in, once or twice a month. as the case may be. Yeah.
Man, it's balance. I haven't heard that
Yeah.
phrase in a long time. Either that or I've blocked it. So like an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Like
Exactly.
that was like gold growing up. It's like my parents were like
I was
this is
full growing up. Yeah.
it's the exact embodiment of my childhood where it's like that's the thing you heard the most where it's like you just
Yeah.
don't want to be idle, don't want to be
You don't want to be
an
idle.
empty barrel.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
What else do you not want to be? No,
Empty barrel
it's
makes the most noise. Wow.
exactly.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. No, I'm
Yeah.
very glad to hear that in terms of the fact that like you have to find the same amount of balance that you chase for your kids is the same amount of balance you should
Mhm.
chase for yourself.
Yes.
And to be honest, I never thought that we would be these people at this point in time of age where
Sure.
we're playing
Never.
golf
Never. Yeah.
and chasing
Hmm.
soccer. What else do you do in terms of like what else do you think helps with taking breaks? So the reason why I asked that is because part of how you can tackle or deal with burnout is by taking three types of breaks. So there's the macro break, which is taking 1 day a month off to
Okay.
not do
Hmm.
anything. So tough as a parent, but it's like the sentiment still stands. Miso break, which is like taking an hour a month off, and then the micro break is just taking like maybe 15 minutes a day or something like that to just focus on
Hmm.
yourself. Are there any kind of
Hmm.
like micro and meso breaks, or just really tiny breaks you do during the day to kind of help with recentering yourself or just focusing on yourself?
I haven't been doing a good job during the day with a micro break. Sometimes I eat at my desk. Sometimes you look at the time and like, wow, I haven't got a chance to run out and get a bite because the day it goes by so quickly because you got so much to just unpack within this short space of time. It's like you're running at a very high level. Once or twice, I may stop to take a bite. I may be browsing through an industry magazine, see another way how I can improve my business. But it's not a real break per se. So that's from the micro standpoint. On Sundays, I try not to get working. And I try to really spend more time with the family on Sundays, but sometimes it's tough. You still I got some work to catch up on. I go to church after church. We sometimes we either have a dinner, a family dinner with other friends, close friends who live nearby, or we have Ethan meet up for a little play date with one of his friends, whether it's at the park, whether it's at we're going to a fall festival, something like that. So I consider those breaks as well because we get to do it with the family, and we all taking a break together from life.
I think we all struggle with that, and it's like those breaks that you take, micro, meso, or macro.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like you have to take a proper break away from what it is that you're trying to get a break from.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it doesn't quite work, and it's so tough
Yeah.
to do. It's so tough to do. Like I think for myself personally, just take a break from work. It's like it's so hard to do. Take a break from parenting too. It's so hard to do because when I'm away from them, either driving to an event or something, I'm thinking about them. I'm like, oh, can I FaceTime them and have them not not wanting to disrupt their activities? And I still try every weekend morning to take a break and run 2 hour span in the morning
Mm-hmm.
as fast and as far and as hard as I can go. I take the run that I can get, and it's always refreshing to come back and have that happen. But even during the work day, I hadn't been utilizing the amenities that are around us in our neighborhood. And I try like
Mm-hmm.
to actually not only just take a lunch. Like if I take lunch, like my wife's office is right next to mine. We just kind of go for a bite, and then we kind of go sit down and eat
Oh,
and
nice.
talk about life
That's
in
good.
general and what
That's
we want
really
to
good.
do, plan vacations
Yeah.
and things like that. Or we could do our kind of our workout activity challenge where we've got a pool in the neighborhood where I'm like, okay, so I found I wasn't swimming a lot, and it's actually funny because when we went to Jamaica in April, a person who's grown up swimming all my life, was afraid to jump in the ocean,
Really.
and I didn't
Oh.
realize what it was. It was just the fact that I had a lot of anxiety from teaching the kids how to
Mm-hmm.
swim, that
Okay.
I kind of took on that fear and I didn't want to swim myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it a point to start swimming like 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes like 3 times a week. in the pool in the neighborhood so that I can build back up my swimming endurance. You find that with swimming, it's such an exhaustive, full body activity that you have no time to think
It
about
is.
anything else. With
Yeah,
working out, you could think
yeah,
about one or two things, but with swimming, it's like you're thinking about how to, like the counter intuitive way that you breathe in through the mouth, out
hmm,
through the nose, in through the mouth, out. So it's like,
yeah.
what time do you have to think about anything else? You're gonna
You
drown
can't
if
think
you
of anything
do.
else.
So it for me, it sounds like the perfect like stress relieving. I guess within reason, if
Mhm.
you can do it, you can't think of anything else. You're thinking about the strokes, you're thinking about the cadence, you're thinking about just a full body way of getting to where you need to get to, and it's so cool to do.
I like swimming for that. You're right, it is exhausting.
Never a dull moment there. The kids are home. One just broke through nap time and just came downstairs and was like, "You want yogurt?" So
Every kid loves yogurt. My son loves
yeah,
yogurt.
no, it's like between yogurt and turkey and all the other stuff. I'm like, where's the time for the other type of like balanced diet meals? It's like between yogurt, turkey,
Exactly.
pancakes, we can't even get him to taste anything
Exactly.
traditional or even try anything traditional. It's really interesting
Oh,
because
really?
his
Yeah. Once
sister,
my son loves peanut butter. He'll just open a jar and eat the
oh
peanut butter
man,
with a spoon. He'll eat the entire jar of peanut butter.
that's a lucky kid, man. You guys are lucky because we have EpiPens laced around this house.
Oh, so peanut allergies?
My daughter had a so this is and I have a love hate relationship with this thing. She had a one time minor
Hmm.
reaction to peanuts. It was like maybe like a
Yeah.
swollen eye, and I don't even know if it was, but we went to the allergist and they were like, oh, there's a point something chance that she's allergic to it, and you just have to keep being cautious around it. So
Hmm.
yeah, so it's like we have to have EpiPens in the car, EpiPens at school, EpiPens at home,
Wow.
and because of that, he can't have peanut butter.
That's like my nephew. My nephew's the same situation because he lived in the family. Nobody in the
Hmm.
family could have peanut.
Yeah.
But I guess
So
your daughter, she could have other nuts, right? She could have like,
yeah, I think she can, but she's just overly cautious around nuts since that happened.
oh, okay.
Like I have to go to the car to eat like cashews. I'm a huge cashew nut fiend, but it's like you just have to make sure that they're not around you, and because I guess it's worse going to the doctor for anything versus like taking the preventative care and just like staying away from it.
Exactly. Staying away from it.
I'd
You're right.
rather just stay away from it and just have it as sanitized as possible. And most school districts are peanut free, anyways. Yeah, so I think you alluded to this, and we were talking about it, where it's something I'd like to call in love while parenting. But what
Hmm.
activities do you do as a couple outside of just your son and your children that you and your wife like to kind of get into that help you guys take breaks or
Yeah, I think we need to do a better job of that. Sometimes I think he does a good job with his sleeping time. So probably on a weekend, probably
Mhm.
try to have a glass of wine or watch something. Most of the times we fall asleep because we're so tired. You may put on a movie and then we both fall asleep on the couch, never get a chance to finish watching the movie. Hang out on our deck, just hear the birds, look outside, have a drink while he's taking a nap or what have you. And what I used to try to do is, and that's when I used to work from home more, when it was at the height of the pandemic and he was in school. I have this philosophy, never eat alone. So like when it's lunchtime, we both take a break from work and we just try to eat on the deck.
yeah.
Have a quick meal together. So, apply that never eat alone philosophy. As brief as it may be, I think it was helpful. I'm more back in the office and I'm on the road more.
So you guys have more like date nights and things like that?
If we have someone here,
Hmm.
if we have
Like a
a
sitter.
mother-in-law, a sitter or whatnot here,
Going back to the sitter point, do you guys trust the sitter, or is it something where it's just kind of you're still like very hands on and still very close family only?
so before Ethan started school, we had like a living nanny, sort of
Hmm.
was around to always to help out. So we had that level of trust. I mean, you'll never fully trust somebody else, all right? It's your kid. You try to take the precautions, put things in place. There are monitors around the house. It's not going to say where we're going to be watching this person 24/7, but you try to do the best job of the person that you bring into their life, someone that is caring and someone that is going to do their best to take care of your kid when you are not there. It's just like in school too, you're trusting other adults to watch over your kid. I guess when our daughter comes, you're going to probably have somebody else come again to just help us out because we definitely need that help. I tell parents all the time, especially parents who are having their first child, like if somebody offers help, take it, never turn it away. Because sometimes you just need that extra sleep, even if you need somebody to just prepare you another meal or to pick up some grocery or pick up some clothes from the dry cleaners. This extra time could really be beneficial to you. So if you get any help, take it. We're blessed that we're able to have. We always had help in those early stages, and we're definitely going to try to look for some more as the family expands.
Yeah, no, and that's important because I think when you think about it, like burnout is reversible. Depending on the extent or depending on the severity, it's reversible. It's something you can fix. Like you said, ask for help, hire a sitter. There's different ways and different things you can do to get comfortable. Because we initially weren't comfortable with sitters when we first kind of had children, and after a while, we're just
Okay.
like, we do the research. There's background checks, there's vetting, there's things like that. I know it's not extensive enough, but it's still like you just have to trust. And then if they give you any reason to mistrust, then you move on. But take the
Exactly.
help
You move on.
where you can. We're
Hmm.
lucky that like we have family members fly in from all over the country to help out.
Nice.
You
Yeah.
know, we have younger cousins who come in from time to time. Every summer, there's always a different person here who just wants to hang out with their cousins and hang out with the kids.
Oh, nice.
And so that's
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 good.
kind of really bit of a blessing. So from when that happens, like we get date nights, we get out, we're in beer gardens, we're out there, we kids who, um, so it's really fun to be able to do that at this stage of life. You know, something that
That's
we
good.
weren't quite doing
That's
when we were younger and starting new.
yeah.
And it really takes into the whole like practice self care, and it's either self care together or self care apart. But it's better together. So it's like my wife's got me comfortable with going to like the mani pedi place, and we're sitting in there getting foot
Oh,
massages. And I'm
nice.
just like, it's like go pick out what color, and I'm just like, this is stuff that I wouldn't ordinarily have done by myself, but with her it hits
Hmm.
differently. It makes a different impact. And then there's kind of setting realistic expectations of what kind of parent you want to be, or just whatever it is you want to do. Just know that you're not going to boil the entire ocean, but you're going to do your best. One of the most interesting things I found out that really helps is setting age appropriate chores. Right, I've been able to Jedi mind trick my
Yes.
kids into folding their laundry
Oh, nice.
as a fun activity. So it's like we go, because usually it's just a pile in the laundry room, and
Yeah.
we go in and we're just like, oh, that's your outfit for Tuesday, that's your outfit for Thursday, this and that, and then we go fold them up and then put them together. And then as badly as they fold it up, at least they pick out what they want to move on, and then I can go and refold it. But it's a start. You know, my daughter's better folder than my son, but to be expected. His time is coming. But they're so
Yeah.
happy to do it, that it's just nice to see them do it. Now their toy box is a whole another story. If they would pick up their toy box, that would definitely help with the stress.
Yeah.
But those things are really cool. It's like getting help where you can, practicing self-care, getting some
Yeah.
exercise, setting realistic expectations, and age appropriate chores. That's a game changer
I,
because at the end of
I
the
like that. Funny you mentioned the age appropriate chores because I was now discussing that just yesterday with my wife. But there are some simple things as you said, putting your clothes in the hamper, trying to clean up your playroom before you take out another toy because that
yeah.
they get access to so much now compared to what we had access to. It's just like they move from one station to the next, and it's
If I ever step on another Lego, if I ever step on another Lego in my life, like how many times I'm sneaking downstairs to go get a snack or something, or to like go
oh
to go
man,
set up like a beer for myself now they're in bed, and I'm just like I step on a toy that makes noise, or I step on Elmo and then he sings and then they wake up. Let's just say like that's
like
traumatizing for me.
to be honest with you, I've run into so many toys in a dark room that I literally tiptoe in a dark room now
Right,
and
right,
walk slowly because I feel like I'm gonna hit something and hit my toe and be upset about it.
yeah,
Because they plant their toys all over. There's so many toys in my car. Cars,
yeah.
they get access to so much. It's overwhelming now, right? So just trying to, as you said, I like that age appropriate
Hmm.
chores thing because it also goes back to what we were saying earlier in terms of not allowing them to be idle,
Right.
letting them know, hey, you have a level of responsibility. Let's follow through on that responsibility. And it's good that you have them fold their clothes, even though it's not the best folding, but they
Hmm.
get into that habit,
Yeah.
allowing them to continue picking up after themselves. if they make a mess, being able to clean it. Something I used to do with Ethan all the time. You could make a mess, but let's find a way, find a paper towel, let's clean it up. And it would come to a habit where you wouldn't want to make a mess again because you have to stop what you're doing and you got to clean it up. Those things are helpful. And, setting realistic expectations for yourself, for yourself and your family and what have you.
At this point, I'd like to get your general take on fatherhood, your journey so far, and what you know now that you didn't know when you started.
Fatherhood has been very involved. I count it as a blessing to be a father, first off, right? I believe children are a gift, and we are here to take care of that gift that was given to us, to guide them as the best way we could, nurture them and take care of them. As a parent, it's a thankless job. You're not going to get thanks. You're going to do.
Yep.
You're going to continually doing things. And that's if you want to be involved in your kid's life. As I said, it's not for everyone. So you have fathers that are not there, you have mothers that are not there. So it's on two ends of the spectrum. But for me personally, I think given this blessing, it's my responsibility to take care of this gift that was given to us and do the best that I could to nurture and care for this gift. Obviously, there are going to be times where you feel like you're helpless. Like, in the early stage of the birth of a child, like there's not much you could do. Well, let me say, don't say there's not much you could do, but there's not much you could physically do that you could provide for that baby. That baby, as human beings, we are creatures, we are animals. Our instinct is for survival. You can't provide what that baby needs at that moment. That baby wake up, can't see properly, but needs to gravitates to where the milk is. You can't provide that milk as a dad. So emotionally, you could feel like, hey,
Disconnected.
I'm useless. I'm disconnected. I'm useless. But there are things you can still do in the grand scheme of things to support that situation that you're in. So I think fatherhood is different stages of your life. I tell people all the time, the kid is not going to be perfect. There's something about your kid that you got to deal with. Each parent, each kid. Each kid is different. But as a parent, you're going to learn and you're going to live with that. And you're going to work through that. That is the beauty of fatherhood. I was blessed to have a solid father. To have my father in my life. So he was instrumental in how I think and how I do things. So it's really important that I provide that same foundation for my children going forward. Because strong families have strong kids. You create strong kids, you provide strong people within the community. And eventually, sort of everybody wins. To come back to your point, when I think of fatherhood, first off, I think of it as being a blessing to be a father, one. I think of my children as gifts. And it's my duty to guide them, nurture them, so that they could navigate this game of life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like to think of fatherhood as the essential work that can never go undone.
Mm-hmm.
Once you think about it that way, that's how I approach it. That's how I like to parent for it, and that's the expectations I set for myself. And we move through it. So as much pressure as that is, like you say, you set realistic expectations, but at the end of the day, you deal with it like it's essential, and that way it never falls to the side. But no, I appreciate you coming on the pod today. Like this is a very, very nice conversation about a topic that is very tough to broach because nobody likes to think of themselves as either kind of being ineffective or just falling short. But it can happen, and it is happening. And think about it, it's a feeling. Realize that it's a feeling, it's a state of mind, it's a cycle. You can push through it and you can reverse the cycle. So thank you for having the discussion with me, at least so that we can get the word out there and then people know that they're not failing. It's not a letdown. They're just going through things that they haven't quite thought of in the context of parenting, but is a real thing.
Yes. Man, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. Always, I learn so much, and obviously we go way back. And these conversations are important because we learn from each other.
Yeah.
We may have different situations, but similar experiences.
Yeah.
And we could learn from those experiences so that we could all grow. Yeah.
I appreciate you, brother. Speak soon.
Speak soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Just Trying Dad. please be sure to spread the word. Tell a friend, and you can find us wherever podcasts can be found, on Spotify or Google Podcasts, and keep having the conversations, and we'll see you soon.